not coffee, big cup, and hello. Welcome back to another special episode of the Gilmore Way Podcast. And it is special this week because we're going to be talking about something that is related to the show, but a little bit different. Before we get into that, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Laura.
And I'm Kate. Yeah, so when I was in Buffalo in April, visiting you, we were standing in line at Target, or Target, as April likes to call it, when we spotted a Tortured Poets Department display. And Laura said to me, sometime we should do a Taylor Swift episode. And at first I was like, yeah, but then I was like, I don't know. I know that there's a lot of Taylor Swift content out there right now. And there are Gilmore Girls Taylor edits everywhere. And several Gilmore Insta accounts we follow are already on the TTPD meme game. And I don't want to just jump on the bandwagon and feel like I'm copying what everyone else is doing, unless it's totally different or adds something to the conversation. And with everyone talking Taylor right now, I didn't want to just make the same content everyone else is making. When something is oversaturated, it can become alienating to people, and I didn't want to do it just to do it. But I kept listening to my Taylor Certified Bops playlist and making connections like ping, 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 and characters and plots and all of these things started coming to mind. And this episode idea just sort of like formed. So I was like, all right, let's do this. I haven't seen anyone do it yet. I thought it would be fun. So, it seems like everyone and their dad is making Tortured Poets reaction videos, many to great success. The algorithm loves it. And Taylor is nothing if not a brilliant businesswoman, so it's hard not to recognize game and getting your bag when it comes to her. Not that we even have a bag, but you know what I mean. So if you truly hate Taylor Swift, you can always skip this one. But we're not really going to be talking about the music itself so much as doing a lyrical analysis in conjunction with the story arcs of Lorelai this week and Rory next week. The hope is that we can tell the story of the Gilmore Girls through the lens of Taylor Swift songs and make the connections for you so that you don't even really need to be familiar with the songs to follow along with us. It'll be one of those things where if you know, and if you don't, we'll explain it. So if that sounds like something you're into, we'd love you to stick around.
Yep. Before we really dive deep into this, friendly reminder that this is a spoilers all podcast. So we're going to be talking about the episode from start to finish, including the revival. If you haven't seen it, go catch up and then come back and revisit this episode. Also, fair disclaimer, you may hear cat noises during this video. If someone decides to wake up from their nap, we make no apologies for that. This is a cat-friendly podcast. Other than that, please just also remember to do all of those YouTube things for us. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, share this with your family and friends who love Gigi or are T-Swizz fans. Any and all support really helps us out, and we're always so grateful for that.
Okay, next up, when I heard the song on Tortured Poets, I was like, oh my god, that is Lorelai Gilmore. And it's the Bolter.
It 1000% is.
Yeah. By all accounts, she almost drowned when she was 6 in frigid water. And I can confirm she made a curious child, ever reviled. To be reviled or to revile someone is like to criticize someone strongly, to say unpleasant things about them. And Lorelai certainly got quite a bit of that. And it's funny because the next line is by everyone except her own father. But in this case, I feel like it's almost especially by her own father, which is sad. Her own family was sort of the source of that for her, that sort of verbal abuse. And it's hard for a kid to deal with that. But obviously this is sort of about a child who has an unusual charm, with a quite bewitching face, splendidly selfish, charmingly helpless, excellent fun till you get to know her. I think that's very much Lorelai, where it's just like, she is so peppy and bubbly and she's such a great time. But then you start to see all the little cracks and the peculiarities and the eccentricities of her emotional states and her lifestyle and all of that. And it becomes a difficulty in some of her relationships. So there's that. Then she runs like it's a race. Behind her back, her best mates laughed, and they nicknamed her the Bolter. I love how she uses the English, the best mates. That's cute. As someone who has her own London boy, I always love Taylor's British allusions. There will be more of those to come, so stay tuned. But started with a kiss. Oh, we messed up meeting like this. It always ends up with the town car speeding out the drive one evening. Getaway car vibes, anyone? Ended with the slam of a door. Then she'll call him, the clean lyric is bore, so we're going to stick with that. The other one is less savory. You can imagine what rhymes with bore and is not a great word. Wish he wouldn't be so sore, but as she was leaving, it felt like breathing. So obviously this is a song about a person, a woman who feels confined in relationships and feels like escaping those relationships is like freedom, like I can finally breathe. I am anxious. I feel again like I was trapped under the ice and like I couldn't get out. And that first breath of air just feels so relieving. And it makes me think of Lorelai in, the aftermath of the Max relationship. She had on a silver platter all the things that she thought she wanted, and she just ran. It was like, what's the lyric?
I think we're thinking of the same one.
She's been many places with men of many faces. First, they're off to the races. Like, just the whole, like, the idea of racing away from a relationship.
Yeah, and for me, one of the lyrics that stuck out most for me is when obviously Taylor says, like, that's when she saw the littlest leaks down in the floorboards, and she just knows she must bolt. And for me, I questioned, what were Lorelai's littlest leaks? What were the leaks? And for me, there were many of them. There are many leaks. For me, Lorelai's number one leak was her own fear.
Yeah. And that's what the song speaks to. The whole thing is like a woman who's terrified of commitment. So absolutely. I mean, that could be a whole episode unto itself. What were the leaks? I mean, granted, we have an episode on Max, so there's that. But speaking of, another line that stuck out to me was, at first blush, this is fate. And it reminds me of Love and War and Snow, when Max says fate, poetry, love, they all go together, don't they?
Yeah. And I think that just also, like, this episode, like, we talk about the bolter. Lorelai bolts. She ends this engagement. She calls up this entire marriage and relationship, and she bolts. And what does she do? She goes on a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, case in point, to her, it probably felt like a fish, that's just been thrown back into the pond, or someone coming up for air. That road trip was going to be her moment of freedom, and her just being like, I am no longer feeling suffocated, but this is just going to be like oxygenation for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was her, like, just release point and what she had to have happen.
There's so much of that imagery on the Tortured Poets department. The whole, like, fresh out the slammer. It feels like rarest air. Those songs I don't think are on this playlist, but, like, definitely comes to mind. Just that feeling of being trapped in a relationship. For Taylor, it was with Joe Alwyn, who just lived a very different kind of life than she did. And it stifled her. Bejeweled is all about this, where it's just like, best believe I'm still bejeweled. When I walk in the room, I can make the whole place shimmer. And he tamped that down. He didn't like to go out and be the public figure that she was. He couldn't meet her level of notoriety with any level of comfort. And that was hard for her, and it made her feel like she couldn't be herself. And I mean, obviously this is a bit of a different situation with Lorelai, but I wonder, even sometimes with Luke, where it's just like, does Lorelai ever feel like she can truly be herself in a relationship? That might have to be a question for a whole other episode.
Probably.
Yeah. One last line that sticks out in this one is, hearts are hers for the breaking. There's escape in escaping. Hearts are hers for the breaking. She is the mythological creature. She is the one who calls the shots, and she's the one who needs to escape.
And she does.
Yeah. Anything
Next
else?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So I've made some promises about talking more about the Christopher and Lorelai situation. So when it came to it should have been Lorelai, there was a song that stuck out to me, and that's Better Man, which is one of the Vault songs from, is it Red?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a Red Vault song.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm probably better off on my own than loving a man who didn't know what he had when he had it. And I see the permanent damage you did to me. Never again. I just wish I could forget when it was magic. You know, it's this whole lamentation on, I wish you were a better person so that I'm not in this position right now. You know, I know why we had to say goodbye like the back of my hand, but I just miss you. And I wish you were a better man. I know I'm probably better off all alone than needing a man who could change his mind at any given minute. And it was always on your terms. I waited on every careless word. Oh, this song just makes me think of that. It makes me think of her sitting in Luke's diner with Chris saying, you know, all of these years, no matter what my relationship status has been, whether we were dating or hibernating, or whether I was dating or hibernating, I think I've always had you in the back of my mind, you know, the prospect of us being together. But this prospect was sort of indefinitely on hold while you found yourself and got your personal life together so you could really be there for me and for Rory. And you and I have been so linked in my mind that I think I've unconsciously sabotaged every decent relationship I've had, including the one with Max, because I was waiting for you and I shouldn't have been. And now that I see you settling down with Sherry, I think I can move beyond it. And to me, this is just like, she's very much reflecting on their relationship lately now that he's off the market. You might have been the one if you were better. And that's a shitty thing to hear. You know, she wishes she didn't feel this way. You can tell at moments that the magic is still there, and that's why she clings to him. But she has these ideas about how he needed to change to fit her idea of what he should be for her. And she knows why she did what she did, why she had to say goodbye. But now she has to talk herself back into that once she sees how he is with Sherry. Like, she's stuck in this awkward position where it's just like, oh, now you are kind of a better man and I kind of want that. But your jealousy, I can hear it now, talking down to me like I'll always be around, push my love away like it was some kind of loaded gun. You know, like this idea of you'll always be there for me. This is almost like, this is Taylor saying it to this person, but this particular phrase I just read is more like Chris to her, where it's like, you're jealous of me and Sherry. I can hear this. You're talking down to me. You're saying I should have been better. You were the one who pushed my love away like it was dangerous to you. And so now the fact that you're reflecting on this and you're telling me that I should have gotten my shit together sooner, I'm out.
Yeah, and it just speaks to the question of, like, we're blaming Max for not being a good enough guy. And maybe he wasn't. But is it right to cast all that blame on him? Or to say, like, well, Lorelai, you could have been better too. And to hold her to account. I feel like we should have. And this song is very much saying, like, oh, the guy needed to be better. And I agree that he probably did need to be and could have been, and Max could have done more. But Lorelai could have done more too.
Yeah.
It's a two-person relationship, folks. It takes both sides to come together and make it work.
Damn it, Lorelai, you're dumping 15 years of unhappiness on me, 15 years of not having healthy, lasting relationships on me. You're blaming me for breaking up with Max and not marrying him. That's all my fault.
There it is.
There it is. Huh. The next one, this one was sort of a wild card for me. And I want to throw it to you first. But I put blank space on the list for the beginning of season 2. Or sorry, beginning of season 3. What are your thoughts on my selection of this song? Like, were there any parallels that you saw?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Hit me.
actually had a lot of notes on this one, and I was firmly in the camp of this being an appropriate selection for the beginning of season 3. Because first off, Emily is trying to get Chris back with Lorelai. She's trying to orchestrate this relationship and bring these two people back together. And I think they're both receptive to it, but Lorelai as well, because she is just trying to have this knee-jerk reaction to fill this emotional void now that her past relationships are like have no longer worked out. She's lonely. She's feeling empty. So she's almost reticent. Like she's not reticent enough, so to say, or she's willing to let Emily interfere in her life in this way and just say like, yeah, bring us back together. Like something is better than nothing, which is an atrocious way to approach any relationship. Like that's when you start settling for less than what you deserve. Like just don't even get me started. But it brings me to the line where in Blank Space, it's like, I have a long list of ex-lovers. They'll tell you I'm insane. Would Chris fall into the ex-lovers camp? Like, I mean, he is an ex-lover, but would he fall into the camp of saying like, yeah, Lorelai is cray-cray?
See, I think he loves her too much to do that, but
she can be a bit much at times. Or would he just say like, no, you know, she had a lot going on. Like, is it hot in here? Like, I guess I can kind of understand. Like, oh, I don't know. There's that another line that just made me just delighted because of context. You're the king, baby. I'm the queen. I'm
the queen, and you are simply my jester.
Or it's like, the king and queen of Connecticut, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you and good night.
The drama king and queen of Connecticut is one, and like I didn't even make this connection until you said that. And I was like, the Hammers and Veils when they're having their engagement party. I'm the queen, and you are simply my jester to Max. Whereas Lorelai and Chris are the drama king and queen of Connecticut. Holy moly!
Yep. Yep. So love that line as well. Just warm fuzzies on the inside. Keeping on going with the lyrics in the song, and then it's, but you'll come back each time you leave.
Yes.
If that's not Christopher Hayden to a T, he's gonna leave. He's gonna try and make things work with Sherry. I applaud him for that. He's gonna try and make his life work. At the end of the day, these two people are like magnets that are just constantly being drawn back to one another, and they're still trying to make it work, even though like the magnetization is just not there. Like you guys just, you know, maybe 2 times was enough, but there's that. And then I don't know if this is a little bit too harsh, but I feel like it is also a semi-appropriate representation of Lorelai Gilmore. I'm a nightmare dressed like a daydream.
Oh, that line is so good. I love this song so much. This is absolutely one of her best, I think. It was written as sort of like a self-parody when she was criticized for having too many boyfriends. And the reason I put it on this list was it made me think of Lazy, Hazy, Crazy Days of Summer, when Lorelai has to break it to Richard and Emily that she and Chris aren't going to be together because his girlfriend's pregnant. And Emily accuses her of flitting from thing to thing, from man to man, which is only a partially fair critique. We don't see Lorelai dating all that much, but her inexperience and her inability to commit does crop up and impact her, right? We know that much. So like the way Taylor Swift described this was that she was being painted as the psycho serial dater girl in the media. It's been awesome. I've loved it. And so that's kind of what what Emily is doing to Lorelai here, is like painting her as this flaky person who uses men and treats them as disposable, which not entirely untrue. But so Taylor really leaned into the stereotype, and she sort of made a character out of it and wrote this song as if she was that person, and really did see men as objects and things to tick off of a list. And that's what's so brilliant about this song, is like, it's so catchy and it's so much fun. And like, I love the video too, where she like smashes up the Cobra replica. It's just like this very expensive car replica. And she takes a golf club to it. And then there's an homage to that in the Eras tour as well. And it's just like, this bee is crazy is the whole like moral of the story with this song. And I think sometimes maybe that is how Emily and Richard look at Lorelai. But the whole point of it is to point out the absurdity of this idea and of treating women like they're almost predatory, if that makes sense. You know, where it's just like, oh my God, look at that face. You look like my next mistake. Loves the game. Want to play? I don't think Lorelai is like that, but there's this accusation, there's this insinuation that she can't hold on to a guy and that she just goes through him and goes through him. It's going to be forever or it's going to go down in flames. So I just...
That was my last point, so...
Yeah. Find out what you want. Be that girl for a month, you know? Trying out fishing for Alex. Anyone? Yeah.
She was trying to reel him in.
But
I'll be here all night, folks. Every Friday. Or every Friday at 6:30.
You should have a brick wall behind you and a microphone. Yeah, I just... Screaming, crying, perfect storms. I can make all the tables turn. Rose garden filled with thorns. Keep you second guessing like, oh my God, who is she? I get drunk on jealousy. But you'll come back each time you leave. It's sort of like, I am tumultuous. I am someone who is not easy to be with. I am very high maintenance. I can make things turn on a dime. I can throw you out. I am a rose garden filled with thorns. I am beautiful. I'm alluring. I am expensive and difficult, you know? But there are dangerous parts here, and you need to watch yourself as you go through this. I will keep you second guessing, and I will get drunk on jealousy. How many times did we see Lorelai get drunk on jealousy? Come on.
Drink.
Ooh, hello. Yeah. And another song that didn't make my list, but that has parallels to this whole idea, is Shake It Off from the same album. I stay out too late, got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. I go on too many dates, but I can't make them stay. At least that's what people say. But I keep cruising, can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's going to be all right. You know, I think Lorelai truly does have a soundtrack playing in her mind at all times because, again, she's the star in her own movie. And she just sort of like, you know, the player's going to play. And she gives no Fs about what people think of her or what they're saying about her. And she just sort of moves on and lets it slide off of her like water off a duck's back, you know? And to the fella over there with the hella good hair, Max Medina, anyone?
Come on over, baby. We can
shake. Yeah. Oh. I'd sing it, but I won't subject y'all to that.
It just also makes me want to just like blast some T-Swizz right now because I'm totally feeling it, but also we'd get copyrighted. So,
oh my God, yeah. I mean, if we were only on audio platforms, we'd be fine. But here on YouTube, this is why we're doing a lyrical analysis and not TTPD reaction videos, because we would be swatted down so fast, it's not even funny. But yeah, just I've been rocking out to it all day, so I don't even need to hear it because it's playing in my mind. But yeah, this whole song is about like the objectification of men. It's another thing to be had, a mistake to make, just one in a series of many, really. So she's satirizing herself when she's performing this song, which I love. You know, she has such a sense of humor and at least some degree of self-awareness and self-reflection that comes through in her music, and it makes for some serious bops. See Antihero, which we'll get to later. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of like Gatsby energy to the song too, like New Money and Daisy Buchanan being a little bit like manipulative, just
She's not at all.
Yeah. It's just the shallowness, the wealth, the extravagance, all of that. Like, ooh, read you like a magazine.
Yeah. Anything else on Blank Space?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just the point of it is just the objectification of men in the show. It's just an accessory for Lorelai. It's another one in the list of plot points for her. So on a meta level, I thought it was some really interesting commentary on Lorelai's whole character as someone who is perceived as flaky in love. Oh, the other thing that like struck me about the song, especially with TTPD just having come out, it feels like the spiritual predecessor to both the Prophecy and the Albatross.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
Just, this one has this sort of like humorous edge, whereas those ones feel genuine. Like, I am hurt by this. Like, people are warning you against me, but I'm okay, and I'm gonna, like, I just love the Albatross. The Prophecy is good, but I think the Albatross is better, where it's just like I'm the albatross, spread my wings like a parachute. The devil that now looks more like an angel. Everybody warned them against her, but she's the one who has the wings and can fly above it all. And like, the perception of her was negative, but actually she's a good person. And so there's just so much of that going on in this song as well. And the Prophecy, where it's just like, please change. Like my destiny seems to be to fail in love constantly, and I need that to stop. Who do I have to speak to change the Prophecy? So there's this pleading, this desperation in that song that doesn't exist here. But 10 years ago, she could laugh at herself and laugh at the media and be like, this is absurd. What are we doing here? But by now, it's just like, no, this has gotten to a point where we seriously need to have a reckoning about how we treat women in the media and how we talk about their romantic lives, especially when they're public figures who use their relationships as artistic fodder.
Yeah, fair enough. Excellent points.
I'm excited for this one.
I'm sure you are.
Oh, okay. I actually really like this song. I know a lot of people are like, why was it the first single off TTPD? Like, it's not single material. I liked it when I first heard it. It has continued to grow on me even since then. We're talking about Fortnite.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
First line that hits me, and it's in the first verse. But what about your quiet treason? Okay. We're so ready to, I think, blame Lorelai for these relationships falling apart. But men have to, like, the men in her life also have to give more as well. And in a follow-up line, also in this song, it says, I love you, it's ruining my life. Because Lorelai tried so hard to make these partnerships work with these men when it was just, there are red flags, you need to cut ties, you need to be done with this. Because it is ruining your life. But she just is so, like, she just has this incapability to be able to let go sometimes in these relationships, even when I think she innately knows this is not good for me. Suki, I think, as her best friend, can see a lot of the times within her partnerships, like, you need to back out of this. Rory can see it. Other people in her life can see it. But Lorelai clings. Because I think in her mind, it's better to have something than nothing at all. But that's not a good reason to stay in a partnership with somebody, especially when their treatment of you is not always spectacular, and because of these quiet treasons.
Yeah, treason is the crime of attacking an authority to which you owe allegiance. So there are questions of loyalty here. Chris was in a way disloyal to Lorelai and Rory by moving away to California and doing his own thing instead of staying in Connecticut and being nearby. And even if they weren't together, he could have been there more for them. But it was a quiet treason, you know? It was slow. It was simple. It was moderate. It wasn't a huge fight, but it was just this sort of like low level, quiet indiscretion. And like, one of the things that caught me about, you know, like the concept of treason, part of that, you know, there's always this sort of connection to spying for military purposes, right? Going behind someone's back and talking to an enemy. Chris and Emily.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Emily does it a lot because she is constantly trying to finagle Lorelai's love life, whether it's Christopher, whether it's Chase Bradford, whether it's just
Luke.
Any of the sons of the Lees on the DAR.
Trying to manipulate any way she can, whether it's like setting her up with someone or inserting herself.
Yeah. I mean, and case in point, when Richard is even just like, just Lorelai, go climb off the balcony. Please just go. Like, Richard recognizes, like, Chase Bradford is a walking red flag. And a total creeper of a human being. Yep, we can pull him out. Go get
it. I'm a red flag. But I will see myself out now, folks.
I think we both will for some friends that we've made this evening. Yeah. But yeah, stop interfering and realize that sometimes it's better to be single than be with the wrong person. Emily needed to realize that. Again, Chase Bradford. Let your daughter find her person on her own and back the fuck off.
Yeah. And for a fortnight there, we were forever. I love that. The short time span, the long time span, the juxtaposition, the antithesis is there. There's a deleted scene from I Can't Get Started. It's the very end of season 2 when Rory gets her cast off and she says, I've been waiting 2 weeks. And so Chris shows up after the accident and then he shows up again 2 weeks later when she gets the cast off. And it's sort of like these 2 weeks of repair of that relationship and like there was some hope there for a good relationship for them going forward. And then they had this sort of like, I don't know, 24, 48 hour period of hope for a relationship for themselves until the whole thing was just shattered by the announcement from Sherry. And now she runs into him sometimes, asks about the weather. He's kind of around, does business in Litchfield for some reason. We don't know. Now you're in my backyard turned into good neighbors. He lives in Boston. He's moved back to the East Coast. They're not quite neighbors, but they're close enough that like they can get to each other within a couple hours. Your wife waters flowers. I want to kill her. Which speaks to Lorelai's jealousy of Sherry and her no hose, good hair, wrinkle-free witchiness. People say Taylor Swift is a witch, but I think Sherry is a witch because whose outfit is like that all day? No one's. Yeah, so the reason I put this on here, it did make me think of Sherry's baby shower, where Lorelai gets this window into Christopher and Sherry's life, and she sees, like, she always knew that Sherry was type A, kind of perfect, intimidating, but then she sees their home and meets her friends and is just like, you are a goddess, you know? To me, watering flowers comes or like brings to mind domestication, domestic life. Someone who grows things, who like has that kind of skill and patience to wait for something to grow, someone who tends to their home and their lawn and has skills to make things bloom and be beautiful. which, you know, I think to the moment when Lorelai gets Jason a plant for his apartment, and she tries to put it like under the stairs where there's no light, and he's like, plants kind of need light, and she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, that's the photo part of photosynthesis. And she's like, what? And she's like, I've had a bunch of plants before. And he's like, have any of them lived?
Yep.
That kind of energy. Sherry has the vibe of like, I can do it all. I am the goddess. And Lorelai envies that. And so I totally feel like the way Taylor says that line, I want to kill her. Like, it's just so, like, there's venom in that line.
Yep.
And that's what I feel from Lorelai to Sherry, was just like, I want to kill you, but I'm just going to rearrange your medicine cabinet instead.
It's not passive aggressive at all.
Exactly.
Yep. Anything else about that episode? Or about that song?
Yeah, there's more. I touched you for only a fortnight. I took the miracle move on drug. The effects were temporary. I think John Hamm was the move on drug. It was a short period that they were together, but it had a profound effect on both of them. This is Chris and Lorelai, not Lorelai and Peyton. But this whole period here was sort of between the beginning of season 3 and the baby shower has this lasting impact on both characters. And she does, you said it earlier, like, she admits that loving him ruins her life. For a fortnight there, we were together, run into you sometimes, comment on my sweater. Now you're at the mailbox, turned into good neighbors. My husband is cheating, I want to kill him. So a lot of people have been theorizing about this song and kind of what this means, like how this fits into the Taylor lore, if you will. And it feels like a sort of future projection where she sees and envisions a future where he has this lovely wife who gives him everything he ever wanted, a beautiful home, children, that domestic life. But she ends up with someone who is unfaithful and disloyal, right? Like, she can't envision a future for herself where things are good and where someone just wants to be with her without any strings attached or without any drama going on in the background. It's just like, I'm still stuck in this mess and you've moved on and like you have done well for yourself, but I'm still stuck here watching you have this beautiful domestic life. And that rings so true for me with Lorelai and Christopher in Take the Deviled Eggs, because she's getting a window into their domestic life and their habits with each other, especially now that she's pregnant, and it hurts her. So, and the other thing that kind of caught me about the song was the thought of calling you, but you won't pick up. Another fortnight lost in America. In Haunted Leg, Chris says, like, I've been calling you, you won't take my calls. And my daughter hasn't even called me back. And it feels like wasted time. It's like, we could be moving forward, we could be making decisions, we could be doing something to fix the situation, and we're not. It's another fortnight lost. And of course we have move to Florida, buy the car you want. Unfortunately, that car was a Volvo.
Oh, Volvos.
I mean, he didn't move to Florida, he moved to Boston, but
Boston.
I've been living in Boston lately. If you know, you know. Karen Reed trial. So the accent slips out every here and there because, yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Those massholes have infiltrated my mind.
We'll have to reset that. But it's okay.
We'll get there. This was a very quiet week for trial, and so I haven't been slipping into it as much lately. But we're about to resume tomorrow as of this recording. So that's neither here nor there. But if you want something that even Agatha Christie could not have written, go watch the Karen Reed trial. If you don't know, it's wild. Go look into it for yourself. But, okay, so next up, unless do you have anything else on Fortnite?
No.
Okay. So this one was a little bit, okay. Lorelai would hate this song, and that's part of why I love it. The next song, again, is a bit of a wild card. I put Today Was a Fairy Tale. And this, for me, connects to Last Week Fights, This Week Tights. We have the Ren Fair. You know, we have everybody in costume. We have this grand romantic setting. Today was a fairy tale. You were the prince. I used to be a damsel in distress. You took me by the hand and you picked me up. You picked me up at 6. Today was a fairy tale. I wore a dress. You wore a dark gray t-shirt. I mean, obviously Luke wears a suit, but Lorelai wears a dress. Can you feel this magic in the air? It must have been the way you kissed me. Fell in love when I saw you standing there. Today was a fairy tale. Like, it's just, again, with the Ren Fair, it has the vibe. Time slows down whenever you're around. I can feel my heart. It's beating in my chest. Did you feel it? I can't put this down.
Yep.
It's just such a cute song.
It definitely is. What also struck me about it, just moving forward a little bit ahead in the lyrics, just for the sake of drawing parallels, nothing made sense till the time I saw your face.
Mm-hmm.
Luke can see her face.
I didn't even make that connection. Good job. I love that.
I do what I can.
Yeah.
This is, again, why this is a 2-person podcast, because we're both going to think of things the other person does not. But that was just a really heartwarming moment for me, where it's like, and you know, if you've seen that scene, which we have, I'm sure, 1,000,001 times, the second that Luke has that moment of realization and he can picture her face, it's like he knows that's his end game. He knows that's who it's going to be. And for him at that moment in time, now everything makes sense when nothing made sense before.
Oh, that's so good. I mean, usually we live rent-free in each other's minds, but occasionally we have an independent thought. So there you go.
Yep, there it is.
All right. And sort of like picking up on that theme, but also carrying through maybe just sort of like the end of season 4 into the very beginning of season 5. The next song I had on my list, I'm not entirely sure if I want to make this pronouncement, but this might be my favorite Taylor Swift song. This is an OG, gets me every time, never skip, like chef's kiss of a piece of pop music. And that is Wildest Dreams.
I don't know if I would call Wildest Dreams my favorite. It is definitely up there, though. And with this song, again, just thinking of how it relates into Gigi, I can see the end as it begins. And so I feel like as we're getting into seasons 4 and 5 with Lorelai and Luke, I feel like she knows that perhaps it may not work. Damn it.
Hi, Vinny.
We have a visitor on the podcast this evening.
We warned you that this was possible.
We warned you that this might happen. So
you know what's funny is it's so perfect that Vinny chooses a Taylor Swift episode to make his first appearance.
Come here.
The crazy cat lady herself.
Come here.
Would approve of the Vinny appearance. This is my beloved godson. I am the godfather.
Can you say hi to the viewers now that you've decided to crash the pod?
This is Vinny. I call him Vincenzo because that's what I do. It's the same way I call Milo Miłosz, which is the like Polish name. So, hi Vincenzo. Thank you for finally gracing the pod.
Yeah, well, Mom's been talking the pod. Mom's been talking forever. So I decided to jump up on the desk and see what she was going on about instead of playing with me.
Yeah.
So,
understandable.
Before you get down. And then jump up on the desk again in 5 seconds. You know that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, he be like that.
Okay.
Bye, Vinny. Normally it's just me, but I don't think he knows that there's like a lot of people watching him now.
We warned you folks, that will not be edited out. This is a part of the TGW pod. We are cat lovers, pro felines up in here. We hope you enjoyed the Vinny.
You know what? Like Taylor is all about her cats. Like, when you watch her stuff, if you watch all the way to the end and you get the Taylor Swift Productions screen, you get like the little illustration of Olivia with her like leg up in the air is her logo. Like her cat is her logo. And then both Olivia and Benjamin make prominent features in the Long Pond session. So like, why not have a cat on our pod about Taylor Swift? Like, she's a millennial lady covered in cat hair. This is what we learned from the Eras tour.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the pod, Vinny.
His official first appearance, it was auspicious.
We hope you've enjoyed that. He may make another because he is still just right here lingering.
Of course.
But we're going to
Where were we? Okay, so we were in Wildest Dreams. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, again, like I was saying, it's just I can see the end as it begins. And dude,
just let him wander. As long as, even if he knocks the ring light, people will understand.
Well, no, just but now he's starting to like, he's pawing at my head at the headphone cord.
Classic,
bro. Sorry, not sorry, folks.
You know what's funny is like every time I've watched a video where someone has a cat, I'm just like, yes, more cat. And people in the comments are just like, I love that your cat was part of this. So let it rain.
Yep. Anyhow, again, with the I can see it end as it begins, it feels like Lorelai recognizing that this relationship may not go the distance. You know, not every relationship does. That's okay. But to me, it was still just Lorelai in that moment being like, this roller coaster may run off the tracks. The tracks may not be complete. You know, I may go over a loop-de-loop or, you know, a hump in the roller coaster tracks and it's not complete. I want to still see where this roller coaster ride is going to take me anyway. Whether or not it ends, you know, positively or poorly. That's where I'm going right now.
Yeah, I love that take. I didn't even have that in my notes, so like, well done. I said no one has to know what we do. His hands are in my hair, his clothes are in my room, and his voice is a familiar sound. Nothing lasts forever, but this is getting good now. This reminds me of the first episode of season 5 when, you know, Luke's like to Suki, you know, don't tell anyone. I don't know if Lorelai wants this out. It's sort of like, let's keep this between us for the moment. Let's like see where this passion takes us before we announce it to everyone, because obviously that's going to incite a lot of drama. And it's just, his voice is a familiar sound. There's something comforting about him to her. And they just slip into this ease of, you know, even the kiss was easy, and their first time a little bit later was easy, and it's finally getting good. You know, they're finally seeing the fruits of this. And, you know, she doesn't have control. Heaven can't help her now. But she needs to explore this. The feelings are too intense. The logic and the good sense has gone out the window. He's got this magnetic pull. And, you know, just this whole song feels, again, like a fever dream, like a reminiscence. Like, this is important and I need you to remember it. No matter how this happens, please remember me like this. Remember me with that little flower crown. Remember me saying, like, good day, sir. Like, you know, talking in Ren Fair speak. Remember me like that. Remember how exquisite this moment was. And, you know, okay, this is possibly one of the best bridges in the Taylor Swift discography. You'll see me in hindsight, tangled up with you all night, burning it down. Someday when you leave me, I bet these memories follow you around. Like, burning it down, total destruction. You'll see me in your memories. Remember me in this sort of like sexy way. I bet my memory will follow you around. Like, I will stay with you. It's so good. It's so good.
She's not mincing words.
No. So good.
No.
Okay.
It's vicious and I love it.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Next up on my list is Sweet Nothing, which is a very far cry. Like, Wildest Dreams has this intensity and this, like, oh, passion, gotta have it kind of feeling to it. Whereas Sweet Nothing is this sort of, like, carefree, twinkly, soft, sweet, like, everything's good kind of song. We should note this is not going to last, but the song is so lovely. And, sweet nothings are things that, like, lovers whisper romantic words into each other's ear, right? But this song sort of plays with that a little bit by playing with the singular and the plurals of sweet nothings. Like, that line shows up in the song where it's in the chorus. They said the end is coming. Everyone's up to something. I find myself running home to your sweet nothings. So that's the sort of, like, I run home to your words of comfort. Those words of love that, nobody else would think anything of this, but to me, that is everything. That is comfort. That is love. But sweet nothing has this other connotation where it's just like, all you want from me is sweet nothing. You don't have these grandiose expectations of me like everyone else does. I can just be myself with you, Out there, everything is complicated, but in here, like, this is just peaceful. And I don't know if Lorelai's ever had peace in a relationship. It's very interesting. But it's like, they said the end is coming. Everyone's up to something. Which makes me think of, like, it connects back to Blank Space. Like, nobody has faith in this. Everybody thinks Lorelai is just going to dump him. She's a serial dater. And, like, Stars Hollow all has opinions on, this is the town meeting written in the stars, where they're all just like, the inn owner and the diner owner dating could be economically catastrophic for this town. Stars Hollow is chaotic. They are inserting their sticky little paws into everything. But when it's just Luke and Lorelai, it's calm. It's balanced. It's safe. They're happy, right? And then, outside they're pushing, shoving. You're in the kitchen humming. All you ever wanted from me was sweet nothing. And so obviously the in the kitchen line makes me think of when Luke comes in and makes her breakfast and she's like, but I was going to go to Luke's. And he's like, I am Luke. And also when he does the bit where he keeps hitting his head on her stove and she's laughing about it on the phone to Rory, which is kind of stupid comedy wise, but, like, whatever. But yeah, just like his presence in her kitchen, like, he's the only one who ever uses it. He's just sort of doing his own thing, being peacefully content in her home, and it's safe from everything outside telling them what they should do and who they should be and how they should conduct themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just summarize it by saying that sweet nothings were all that Luke ever wanted from Lorelai. He was always very content with the life that he had working at the diner, never needed or felt the desire to franchise it, to, go beyond that. And Lorelai just needed to learn and accept that he was okay being where he was being. And if that was in Stars Hollow with her, just working at the diner for the rest of his life, there you go.
Yeah. And all the voices that implore you should be doing more. To you, I admit that I'm just too soft for all of it. This to me is sort of like the voices from outside who say, like, especially Emily and Richard, who are like, Luke, you should be franchising your diner. He doesn't care about that. And, obviously both of them are kind of under stress in the situation, but just because you can deal with conflict doesn't mean you don't have a gooey center that's deeply impacted and affected by all of the criticism. But their relationship seems to be the safe space from all of that, you know? Taylor talks of industry disruptors and soul deconstructors. I'm sure that Richard would want Luke to be an industry disruptor, but instead, Richard is the one who's sort of being a soul deconstructor, where it's like, you're breaking something down. And when you think about it, your soul is just sort of this like energetic force that makes up part of your being. And it's invasive and inhumane to break someone down like that. Like, these are people who will suck your soul. And Luke gets that. And Lorelai tries to protect him from that. And so that's kind of why this song found its way onto the list.
Yeah, indeed. Anything else about that song before we continue?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So next up on my list was King of My Heart. I'm perfectly fine. I live on my own. I made up my mind. I'm better off being alone. Now you try calling me baby like trying on clothes. This is the whole like beginning of the relationship. Like, this is cheeky. Because all the boys in their expensive cars with their Range Rovers and their Jaguars never took me quite where you do. And I thought this was so funny because Peyton's car is a Jaguar XJ8, convertible with 290 horsepower engine, in case you were wondering. You weren't funny, neither was I.
Yeah. Shout out to John Hamm, because even though I don't feel like Peyton was ever a good partner, John Hamm all day, every day. I understand why women would line up. But we're not about to get overly thirsty here.
I mean, thirst. No, but I thought it was so funny that Jaguars was referenced in the song. And I was like, wait a second, what car did Peyton have? And I literally went back to the transcript and looked it up. And I was like, oh my God, it's a Jaguar. And I think Richard drives a Jag as well. Like when Dean builds the car for Rory and he's like, follow me in the Jag. And he's like, well, I hope you got your whatever fixed. And he's like, they fixed that years ago. Like that vibe. I thought that was so funny that it happened to be a Jaguar.
Indeed.
Yeah. And all at once, you are the one I've been waiting for, king of my heart, body and soul. And all at once, you're all I want. I'll never let you go, king of my heart, body and soul. And I think this is so perfect because it's like, and all at once, you're the one I've been waiting for. So there's this weird dilation of time in that phrase where all at once, I've been waiting for you. So we know, we're in season 5 by this point. There's been a flirtation at least since season 1. So at least 5 years, probably more like 8, given what we know. But I love that, where it's just like, there was this sort of like sudden breakthrough for them where they realized that Luke did own Lorelai's heart. And all at once, this is all she wants.
Yeah. Indeed. This song did actually not make my list, so I will let you just wrap up your thoughts on that, and then we can go on to the next one.
Fair enough. Your love is a secret I'm hoping, dreaming, dying to keep. Change my priorities. The taste of your lips is my idea of luxury. So, again, this is sort of like that hidden love feeling. And the taste of your lips is my idea of luxury. Because obviously Lorelai was raised in luxury and she gave it up. And her mother keeps trying to foist on her these men who she thinks are more appropriate for her, who can provide for her in the way that a lady should be provided for. But Luke is the one, like, kissing him is what feels like luxury to her. It feels like self-indulgence. It feels like a richness of love that she could never achieve with these guys who are superficial and into materialistic things, you know?
Yeah.
And is this the end of all the endings? My broken bones are mending with all these nights we're spending. Is this the end of all the endings? It would seem so, to the end of the revival, at least. My broken bones are mending. She does a lot of bone-breaking imagery. It's just this sort of like, I am fundamentally unable to support myself because all of my bones are broken. But you are slowly putting me back together. You are allowing me to heal and to support myself once again, just by spending time with me.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I thought so. Did you have another between, like, have you added any others?
Well, what was the next one on your list? Because I can tell you where I'm at on mine.
Okay. My next one is You Are in Love.
Okay. I had minimalistic thoughts on this. I had more thoughts on the one that follows, Down Bad.
Okay. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on Down Bad, but my next one was You Are in Love.
Yeah. We also still have so many to go.
I know. We're trucking through. Okay. So for me, the song, like, again, it was a sleeper until it was one of the acoustic set songs at the Eras tour. I was like, oh my God, the song is so good. One Look, Dark Room, Meant Just for You. Time Moved Too Fast, You Play It Back. Small Talk, He Drives, Coffee at Midnight. The light reflects the chain on your neck. He says, look up, and your shoulders brush. No proof, one touch, but you felt enough. Like, again, Small Talk in the diner, duh. Coffee at Midnight, yes. The light reflects the chain on your neck, the necklace he gave her from his sister. Your shoulders brush, one touch is enough. This reminds me actually of season 1 when they're playing poker, and it's just like, that first touch, and that they sort of like dabble in that. And it's just like, ooh, yes. Like the sparks are there. No proof, one touch, but you felt enough. Like, you can hear it in the silence. You can feel it on the way home. You can see it with the lights out. You are in love. True love. You are in love. Like, this just feels like that sort of blissful place that they get to, especially like if you remember in the Wedding Bell Blues episode when she is the bridesmaid and she walks down and they're looking at each other. Like, I could hear that, like that piano track in the back of this song playing when they're looking at each other. It's like, you're in love. Like, it didn't take much to get here, but this is real. And like, you can hear it a mile away. Like, you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it. This is undeniable.
Yeah, and what had me about this song too was just the different components to love, about hearing it, about seeing it, about feeling it. All are important. It's not just about one or the other. And I feel like for Lorelai, she always had to grow in her love for Luke. Like, I don't think that was as much established for her as it was for Luke. And I feel like she just needed those quiet moments of realization to really understand how much this man just genuinely and deeply cared for her and loved her. I think it was just some sort of, and I don't want to like discredit her emotions, because I feel like she loved him, but I don't think she even understood how much she loved him until he started doing things to show it and prove it. And again, she had those quiet moments to really just sit and realize, like, wow, I'm lucky. Wow, this man loves me. Look at what he's doing. Look at how his actions and his words show that and back it up. And it's in those quiet moments that I think that Lorelai continues to fall in love with him even more and more.
Yeah, again, like you said, quiet moments, falling in love more and more. That's the essence of love. It's the small things. It's the it's the little stuff that just keeps you feeling like, there are still butterflies, That vibe is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
Morning, his place, the diner. Burnt toast, Sunday. You keep his shirt. Coming down in a flannel the first time you do it with him, anyone? He keeps his word. Luke is a very loyal person. He's the kind of person you can rely on most of the time. And for once, you let go of your fears and your ghosts. One step, not much, but it's said enough. You kiss on sidewalks, you fight, then you talk. One night he wakes, strange look on his face, pauses, then says, "You're my best friend." And you knew what it was. He is in love. Again, just top to bottom perfection. The whole thing, like, do we even need to explain this one? Have you seen season 5 of Gilmore Girls? Which, if you haven't, go do that. Like, if you're a Swiftie who's here for no good reason, go watch Gilmore Girls. You're missing out.
I don't need to explain that. It's self-explanatory.
She gives up her ghosts for him, you know? Like, mostly. I've used that qualifier a few times tonight, but, like, he's one of the few people who can sort of, like, pull that out of her and get her to move beyond it, even if it's not completely.
Yeah.
But the "you're my best friend," that's them. That's them.
Yep.
Ooh, the other thing, like the last thing about this song that I will say is, you two are dancing in the snow globe round and round, and in winter, Lorelai, it's like the fact that the whole town was constructed in a snow globe will have an effect on your bar account. Like, Yep, just had to throw that in there. But you said you had a lot of notes for Down Bad, which is the next song on my list, so hit me with it.
Yeah, I will also say I have a personal, just unrelated appreciation for this song because it just gives me such strong SNL Close Encounters vibes.
I remember when I first listened to the song and I was like, girl, go listen to Down Bad and tell me this is not Close Encounters. Colleen, you're becoming your mother.
Which we're always here to enlighten and broaden your cultural media palette as well. So if you have not seen the Close Encounters sketches from SNL featuring Kate McKinnon as a woman who has been beamed up into the sky and has had some not so great experiences with aliens.
Not the most embarrassing experience I've had on a Jumbotron.
She's had worse Wednesday nights. Please go watch those episodes. They are, or those sketches, they are phenomenal. You will not be disappointed.
Oh, they're so funny. And like, I have such a soft spot for them too, because we watched them all when we were all in Virginia together, which is like when I met Dan. And so it's just like, it's part of our mythology, you know?
Anyhow, one of the earliest lyrics from this song is, "Show me that this world is bigger than us, then send me back where I came from."
Yeah.
It's not, do you want to?
No, you like.
It's just Lorelai and Luke finally coming together and having the realization that they're meant to be. And going back to like invisible strings, yeah, I feel like there were a lot that were just tying them together and leading up to this moment. And so they're just wanting each other to show each other what they have to offer. Because then we follow it up with, well, what if I can't have him or us? And that thought is just so devastating, I think, for either one of them to even think about, because they've put in so much time and so many years of waiting just for this to become a reality, especially even more so for Luke, seeing Lorelai just date other women, parade other women around the diner. Even if she wasn't inadvertently throwing it in his face, you could tell that it just stung for him every single time, because it was always just a why not me sort of moment. So the fact that this is finally happening for the both of them and they're able to realize that is just, show me what you've got. I'll show you what I've got. And then we'll bring each other's best to the table and give it our all, because we're both going to be all in here. And let's just see how this pans out. And I just feel like that rawness of just being like, let's give it all we got, hell or high water, not knowing what's going to come. It's brave and it's bold and it's scary, but it's love.
This love is brave and wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right after that comes the line, for a moment I knew cosmic love, which on its own is just a stunning line. But I also can't help but believe that this is a very purposeful allusion to Cosmic Love by Florence and the Machine, as Florence Welch is a guest vocalist on this album. And Cosmic Love is one of my favorite Florence and the Machine songs. A falling star fell from your heart and landed in my eyes. Like, the stars, the moon have all been blown out. I took the stars from your eyes and I made a map. I knew that somehow I would find my way back. That song is just it's so good. And all the celestial imagery comes up for me with that. And it's just, and the way she delivers it is so beautiful. For a moment, I knew, like, I don't even know if I can approximate it vocally, and I probably shouldn't because my microphone won't pick it up very well, but like, go listen to the song and listen to how she delivers. That is just this, like, it's beautiful, high voice. Like, she's in her head voice on this one, and it's like, the perfection. But then we get into the chorus. Now I'm down bad crying at the gym. Everything comes out teenage petulance. Fuck it if I can't have him. I might just die. It would make no difference. Down bad, waking up in blood, staring at the sky. Come back and pick me up. What if I can't have us? I might just not get up. I might stay down bad. So when I first heard this, I was like, this is a weird lyric. Like, I'm down bad crying at the gym. Everything comes out teenage petulance. And I'm like, I thought you were 34 years old. Okay. But then I thought about it some more and I was like, no. Like, this song is all in the opposites, the juxtapositions. Again, take a drink every time I say juxtaposition. You will be slammed by the time I end this episode. Because crying at the gym, like, the gym is one of the most mundane things you can do. You know, this is something that, like, most of us force ourselves to do as humans because we know that movement is good for us. And we sometimes feel good when we do it. If you're one of those people who's used to doing it, at least. And so for Taylor, especially, like, the gym is such an integral part of her training regimen for her job. She needs to be in shape to perform the way she does. And so this is an act of, like, this is work, you know? And so you can extrapolate that to Lorelai, where it's just like, I'm down bad crying at the inn, you know? I have to get up and go to work every day, but I am still down bad. And everything is coming out teenage petulance because she's Lorelai. Everything comes out teenage petulance. Fuck it if I can't have him. Like, he is the end all be all.
Yeah.
Waking up in blood. This reminds me of her dream a little bit, where it's like, say something, you know? This isn't stupid. She is in pain. There is an injury here. And, like, if this doesn't happen, she might just not get up. She might stay down bad.
And she will. I mean, we obviously see in this episode that when she offers him the ultimatum to elope, and he just says, like, listen, I'm not ready for that. You got to give me some more time. And that falls apart. She does fall down bad into bed for some time, and Lorelai needs to rush home, hop in Frank's limo to get there as quickly as possible, to be there for her mother. But it's an understandable reaction. And I feel like anyone who has been on the end of just a really intense romantic partnership that doesn't end well, like, you're going to have that grief period. And that was Lorelai's grief period, where she was going to be down bad for some time. And the crying in bed and just questioning to Rory, like, why didn't this work out? Like, what could I have done? You know, it's never going to be a thing ever again. And just Rory trying to console her. It's all just truthful and realistic, even though it is heartbreaking at the same time. It was the start of Lorelai's grief process.
Yeah. Did you take all my old clothes just to leave me here naked and alone? In a field in my same old town that somehow seems so hollow now. Celestial imagery seems so hollow now. Just putting that out there.
Stars. Hello? Stars. Hello?
This ground so hollow. The stars so bright. Or whatever that was. And here's where we get into the SNL territory. I loved your hostile takeovers, encounters closer and closer, all your indecent exposures. How dare you say that it's over? Well, how dare you say that it's... I'll build you a fort on some planet where they can all understand it. How dare you think it's romantic, leaving me safe and stranded? Because what if I was in love? What if I can't have us? Because what if I was in love? Like, the word hostile to me definitely applies to Luke. Your hostile takeovers. Like, you are an angry person. And like there is some sort of like aggression there. So that comes through. Encounters closer and closer feels like the building of like, oh, we're getting close, but now we're not. And now we're close and now we're not. We keep almost getting there, but not quite. It's just one of those things where they had been building for so long that when they got there, it felt like cosmic love. And so when suddenly Luke changed his tenor on the feasibility of this relationship, it was just like, I'm done bad crying at the gym. Fuck it if I can't have him.
Sometimes you just need to be done. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Anything else on Down Bad?
Nope.
Or any song after it before whatever I put next?
No, let's keep going. Let's keep plugging away.
All right.
We're running so long. It's stupid.
I know. And I'm still doing okay. But next up for me is Labyrinth. It only hurts this much right now. Was what I was thinking the whole time. Breathe in, breathe through, breathe deep, breathe out. I'll be getting over you my whole life. I thought the plane was going down. How'd you turn it around? It only feels this raw right now. Lost in the labyrinth of my mind. Break up, break free, break through, break down. You would break your back to make me break a smile. You know how much I hate that everybody just expects me to bounce back just like that. Especially that last paragraph there where it's just like, okay, so obviously this is sort of Jews and Chinese food territory. It only hurts this much right now. I can get through it. I just have to take my time. I have to be mindful. But I still may be getting over this forever. But lost in the labyrinth of my mind. You know, like this is a labyrinth is a maze. It's intricate. There's passageways. There's blind corners. And, you know, it's not easy to find your way out of this. And so like that's a difficult place to be where like you're not sure even where your own head is going to go. But the whole like you would break your back to make me break a smile is so Luke Danes. And the whole, you know how much I hate that everybody expects me to just bounce back, just like that. The ribbons and the, you know, Suki being like, I don't want you to become a spinster. Let's go out. Except I can't drink and I can't dance and I can't do this. Like that feels like that to me, where it's like Lorelai is contending with like, this is the stage of grief where you're like one spot removed, where you're just like, I'm still in pain, but I'm not like so imminently in this that I can't see anything else. Everything will be okay if I can just like breathe. But everybody else is putting this pressure on me to move on and to be okay. And so that's why I put this song on the list for like 5:15, 5:16.
Yeah, and you've already echoed pretty much all of the notes that I have for that song. It's just about Lorelai contending that her relationship didn't work out, She's trying to create her own little she shed, her own little environmental space where she can try and just distract herself from the pain that she's feeling and have it be her own. And just having that realization that like everyone still expects you to put on a brave face and act like you're okay after that. When, I mean, it's a common thing. They said some of the most difficult things that you can that any one person can encounter in life that are some of the most stressful and trying situations are having a relationship fall apart, losing a job, like just getting fired, losing a child. Like this falls on that list, and expecting anyone to be okay after that and to just be like, yeah, no, I'm fine, all smiles. It's not realistic, and you're diminishing a person's healing process as well. Lorelai needed to go through that, and that's what she was attempting to do here. And even though that lost love eventually, spoiler alert, does end up coming back around for her, she didn't know that at that time. So she was just processing as well and as best as she could.
Yeah. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
All right. Next up on my list was dress.
Yep. I have thoughts.
Okay. I'll start with mine. This was it was just a small inclusion because it reminded me of Pulp Friction when Lorelai buys that sequin dress for her reunion date with Luke. All of the silence and patience, pining in anticipation, my hands are shaking from holding back from you. You know, this is their reconciliation after a couple weeks apart. Say my name and everything just stops. I don't want you like a best friend. We are getting back together. We are romantic. We are not just friends anymore. Only bought this dress so you could take it off. Carve your name into my bedpost is a little bit like a foreshadowing for the Cupid bed. I thought that was funny. Carve your name into my bedpost because I don't want you like a best friend. Inescapable, I'm not even going to try.
Yeah. And I feel like also some highlights from this song as well is if I get burned, at least we were electrified. So you're willing to take on some detrimental pain just to feel momentary pleasure with this person that you're with. It's just like saying like this relationship is like me putting a hand on the hot stove where it's going to feel great for like a millisecond and elicit a reaction, but then eventually it's going to like kill me and destroy me, which is so problematic in its own right. Don't even get me started. But
it's the devil's hands.
Deviled eggs or deviled hands?
Deviled hands. Don't touch the devil's hands.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I hope everybody else gets it too. And if you don't, go back and watch the whole show.
Yep. But it's followed up by a sweet counterline later on in the song where it's like, even in the worst times, you could see the best of me. And it's just Lorelai coming to terms with the fact that like we've had our struggles. We've been broken up. We've gotten back together. We've been broken up. We've gotten back together. We've watched each other date and marry other people. And it echoes Luke's speech later on, you know, when he's in the kitchen just saying like, listen, we've had to like endure seeing each other go through trials and tribulations with other people. But at the end of the day, it's always been us and we've always come back to one another. And I feel like that's what's being echoed in this song where it's like, I don't want you like a best friend. I want you as a lifelong partner because you could see me when nobody else has. So I'm walking into the fire. I'm putting my hand into the flames. Come join me. And Luke, I feel like, has always been more ready to do it. And it's always been Lorelai who was just too afraid of something because it seemed too perfect. And I get that as well, because when it seems too good to be true, sometimes it can be and sometimes it is. But that's not always the case. And you need to just dive in to find out. And I feel like she was just so hesitant to do it because she was afraid of getting burned and of getting hurt. And so the cost benefit analysis for her in terms of the getting burned and the electrification wasn't always one-to-one for her.
That was so much deeper than I went with the song, so I applaud you. Like, perfect. Beautiful. Love it. No notes. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
Okay, so here's my audible. This is where I put it. Yeah.
Okay, here we
All
go.
right. So the song earlier that I was listening to it popped up. So what I did on my iTunes was I made an Eras playlist, which is literally just all of her albums, mostly the Taylor's versions. And so whenever I'm just feeling like Taylor, I put on the Eras list, right? And so it's just all of her songs. And Peace came on. And I was like, like this song is so beautiful. I'm pretty sure it is like the backing track to the Folklore Long Pond Sessions. It's that like beautiful folksy guitar, like that do 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 do. Like it's stunning. And the song is so, again, melancholy. It's like our coming of age has come and gone. Suddenly the summer it's clear. I never had the courage of my convictions as long as danger is near. And it's just around the corner, darling, because it lives in me. Like, for me, the danger is just around the corner. It lives in me is the whole, like, I'm related to the Gilmores. I could never give you peace, but I'm a fire and I'll keep your brittle heart warm. If your Cascade Ocean Wave blues come, all these people think love's for show, but I would die for you in secret. So what she's saying is just like, the Gilmores are awful. And if you ever get too bogged down in this, like I will, like my passion and my fire will sustain you. It's enough to sustain you. I will keep your brittle heart warm. Brittle is like, this could break at any moment, which we see in Wedding Bell Blues. Like he is on the precipice of like, this is too much. You are too much drama. But I will stand up for you when this happens. And, you know, all these people think love's for show. Like, you know, we're not playing here. I would die for you in secret. The devil's in the details, but you've got a friend in me. Would it be enough if I could never give you peace? And so it's just sort of that question of just like, I am in this and I will cut out my family if I have to. She even sort of like says it in, I think it's in Pulp Friction. So Emily goes to Luke in So Good Talk and says, you know, I guess you win. Like, go back to her or we're not going to interfere anymore. And they get back together. But I'm sure that this is always going to be an existential threat for them. And they're worried about this. So will it be enough for Luke if she can never truly, like, give him peace? If he's not sure that, like, this won't truly stop?
No, I don't think it will. There's only so much pain that a person can take within any sort of relationship where you're just like, I love you, but how much do you expect me to bear? And Luke has bared a lot. But I feel like even for Luke Danes, the man will have a breaking point. Anybody is going to. There's only so much that you can give. And I feel like from what I've heard you say, that's what this is exploring. It's like, what is that breaking point? How much can you give before you need to say, like, I just can't anymore? And it's not for a lack of love, but just because it's detrimental to both of us and it needs to be done.
Yeah. Your integrity makes me seem small. I love that line. Like, you make me feel inferior somehow. But just like the way it's put, your integrity makes me feel small. And I think that's maybe something Lorelai deals with, where it's just like Luke is so a man of his principles, and he does have so much integrity that anytime she waffles, she's just like, what what's Luke going to think of this? You know, like, how is this going to be perceived by others? And that might be a trauma response to her childhood, but like, your integrity makes me seem small. I definitely think she feels that way. Ooh, I talk shit with my friends. It's like I'm wasting your honor. She talks shit with Rory and Suki all the time. About him, around him, concerning him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm wasting your honor. Luke is an honorable man. Is she wasting his honor? That might be an episode topic unto itself. I keep saying that, but...
If we had $1 for every time we said, oh, I think that's going to be another episode.
We'd actually make money from this podcast. Hey! But we do it anyway because we love it. And you know that I'd swing with you for the fences. Luke plays baseball, as did Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Sit with you in the trenches. I will fight with you. Like, we will fight this out. Give you my wild, give you a child. And that's kind of why I put at the end of season 5, where it's just like, ooh, we're kind of talking about kids. There might be a pregnancy scare. Twickham House, all of that.
Yeah.
Maybe more kids. I don't know. There don't have to be kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give you the silence that only comes when two people understand each other. Need I say more?
No.
Family that I chose. Now that I see your brother as my brother, is it enough? If Lorelai accepts TJ as her brother, yeah, that's enough.
That's enough. I am an Escarole.
Escarole.
Which is a very delicious leafy green.
It is not. Go ahead.
I'm just my Italian heart just condones the consumption of escarole. Boil some water, steam it in a pot, fresh garlic, olive oil drizzle. You're welcome.
I mean, anything steamed and then tossed with olive oil and garlic is going to be good. So, like, is it really the escarole or is it the olive oil and the garlic? But anyway, contrary to popular belief, he's not talking about that period between the ending of a contract and the closing of a transaction where money is held in trust by a lawyer.
Fair enough.
So I love that. I'd give you my sunshine, give you my best, but the rain is always going to come if you're standing with me. And that's the thing. It's like, as much as Emily can say, I'm not going to interfere anymore, she does interfere. And we know that. It's just like, there is always going to be a struggle here if you're with me. And like, this is what you're signing up for. Luke tells it to Dean at one point where it's just like, this is the package deal. Like, if you want to be with Rory, or no, it's to Jess actually. Like in Swan Song, he's like, you know, the mother, the grandmother, it's all a package deal. Mm-hmm. And so this is something that Luke understands implicitly, and it became too much for him at a point. But now they seem to have repaired that, and Luke has steeled himself against it, and so they know the rain is going to come. And so I'm hoping that they're going to stand together and that she's going to continue to give him her sunshine.
One can hope.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Stop. Jinx. Well, that was my audible, so I'm not surprised that you don't have more because I didn't really prep you for that one.
No, you did not. But I'll get you back next week. So
I'm going to get you back.
Yeah.
I'm going to be your wife or I'm going to smash up your bike. I don't know yet, but I'm going to get you back. So, did you have any other songs between the previous one and my next one?
No, I feel like our next one is... We're starting to, like, close out Lorelai's men and this relationship, so we're getting to the end of it, and I feel like the next song is a really good representation of it.
Yes, okay. Again, this is a newer fave. It like Wildest Dreams is one of my OG, like I have been partying to this for 10 years or more. But one of my newest obsessions that is just, again, positively stunning, that to me represents the end of Luke and Lorelai at the end of season 6. So we're jumping ahead in time a little bit. I didn't find anything that really like resonated for me with Lorelai's arc in season 6 until the very end when she finally has to confront Luke. And the song that came to mind for me was My Tears Ricochet.
Yep.
So tell me your thoughts on this one.
Again, I'm just going to start out with a lyric. Even on my worst day, did I deserve, babe, all the hell you gave me?
Yes. Preach. Louder for the people in the back of the funeral home.
Out swinging here, both with Taylor's song, but also with this relationship. Because, and I'm not going to fault Lorelai or Luke and say it was one or the other. They both were to blame here. But they caused each other so much pain sometimes in their actions. Luke with just with withholding, April's existence, not wanting Lorelai to be a part of that and just withholding that information. Lorelai countering down the line and saying, like, if you are not ready to marry me and elope right now, I'm throwing in the entire towel on this relationship, regardless on what your thoughts on that are, on the April situation, amongst so many other just horrible things these two people have honestly done to one another. Really, relationships are not perfect. There's always going to be conflict, and there's always going to be strife, and there's always going to be mistakes that are made and inadvertent pain that is caused. But that's the crux of it. It's just, is the pain inadvertent or is it purposeful? And sometimes, and I think that's what this question is alluding to in this song, did I deserve the hell that you gave me? Was it intentional? Was it malicious? Or was it done inadvertently and you're regretful and you're remorseful for it? And can we move on from this? Some of the time, yes, I feel like the pain is accidental because, again, people are going to up in relationships. Again, the language, but we warned you, it's not going to be perfect and mistakes are going to be made. But when you're doing something that you know will cause your partner pain and you do it anyway, you can't blame that person for not wanting to be with you anymore. And so I think that's, again, just the heart of what this question is asking. It's, do you deserve the hell that you're given? And you need to look at what your partner has done to you and say, did they do this to purposefully cause me pain? Or was it just a misstep and we can try and work through this and communicate and salvage this? And it's just so to the it's so to the heart of this question and what's being asked. And it's what Lorelai and Luke are both contending with as their relationship is falling apart, as this breakup is happening, as they're just going their separate ways. Is it irreparable or can it be saved? And it boils down to, this is actually I'm going to steal this from Gone Girl and Gillian Flynn's novel. What have we done to each other? What will we do?
Yeah. Oh, yes. That is absolutely all true. That feeling of yeah, I know I did something, but oh, did I deserve this? She made him wait for the wedding and she maybe hid the Christopher stuff, but then he hid his child from her. And it's just did I deserve that? No, absolutely not. And everything else since, I've been nothing but good and you have done nothing but deflect. So there's all of that. Very well said. What got me about this was actually the line before what you just said. If I'm on fire, you'll be made of ashes too. I am the one who is burning this down. you're the collateral damage. If I'm this passionate, this fiery about it, like, you're coming down with me because, like, we're in this together and there's no way you don't go down in this because, like, we're equal parts. Like, we are a whole. And if I have to burn, if I have to go up in flame and smoke, there's no way you're getting out of this too. Like, you have to feel the pain that I feel because that's how this works. Mm-hmm. So, this song. First chorus. I didn't have it in myself to go with grace. And you're the hero flying around saving face. And if I'm dead to you, why are you at the wake? Cursing my name, wishing I stayed. Look at how my tears ricochet. Okay, first up, we have the connections back to grace, which is, again, it's just such a beautiful word. Like, there's something about, like, it's such a beautiful word that people turned it into a name, you know? Like, I didn't have it in myself to go graciously. I couldn't go easily. I couldn't go confidently. I couldn't go with any sort of favor. Like, I'm going to be loud as I leave. There's going to be some kicking and screaming. And you're the hero flying around saving face. Luke is the guy who's, like, the good guy being a dad to his daughter, but he's the one who is cutting Lorelai out and doing all these things. But he's trying to play this heroic figure where it's just like, I'm really not that bad. Like, I'm just trying to be here for April. When it's just like, if you had done this properly, Lorelai could also be here for April. Maybe if not now, then eventually. You could have rectified the situation in a way that didn't require her absence. And if I'm dead to you, why are you at the wake? Like, to me, this signifies the whole, like, we both live in the same town. We can't escape each other. This is them running into each other in the supermarket in the first episode of season 7, where it's just like, this is just the closest supermarket to Liz and TJ's place. And they sort of have that moment of a ceasefire, I guess, like the best way you could put it, especially in the terms of this song. You know, they lay down their weapons a little bit at that point, but it's like, look at how my tears ricochet. It's like, if I'm made to be sad, that's going to reverberate. That's going to end up being on you because of how this relationship works and how the situation has gone.
Yeah, exactly. And then a follow-up line. You had to kill me, but it killed you just the same.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which stems back to the initial line, if I'm on fire, you'll be made of ashes too. This is not a sink or a swim type of ship here, folks. This is the Titanic going down, and the lifeboats are gone. If I am going to sink and perish, you bet your ass you're coming with me. So make up your mind. What sort of pain do you want to inflict and cause right now? Because if you're going to call it quits and sink this relationship and pull it to the bottom of the Atlantic, we're both going. What's it going to be? And it's the question that is asked. Do you both want to try and float on the door? Do you want to see if there's a spare lifeboat? Or are we both going to just end it here and now tonight? And that's it.
Oh, that skips ahead too. I didn't have it in myself to go with grace, and so the battleships will sink beneath the waves. Like, you went to the line below that, but yeah, you forgot the lead part. The battleships, like, and that's one of my favorite lines because the way she says it. And so the battleships will sink beneath the waves. Like, it's so deep and beautiful, and it's like, it just, like, the sound of it is so resonant compared to the rest of this. Like, the song is very melancholic, but like the way she sings it, she just goes into her full chest, just full chest voice. All of it comes out on the battleship will sink beneath the waves line. And that's part of the reason that this song is one of my favorites, where it's just like the performance of this and just the the way she delivers it with so much passion and feeling. Oh, like this is one of my favorite performances from the Eras tour, where she is in her white folklore dress, like from the movie at least. I mean, obviously she has her variant costumes, but in the movie she's wearing this beautiful, like ethereal white gown with this gold beading. And when she does this song, all of her dancers, her female dancers specifically, come out in basically this sort of like ornate funerary wear, where it's these like black lace dresses with the puffy sleeves, and they're just like head to toe in black, but they're glittery. And so it's just like, obviously they're stage appropriate, and they all walk just step by step with their heads down. And then I can go anywhere I want, just not home. And they like fall to the stage. They just crash. And it's seriously, like, even if you don't have the full 3.5 hours, go watch the My Tears Ricochet performance on that movie, because it's so beautiful. Just the staging of it and the production, the choreography of it all is breathtaking. I love this song, and it's so sad. I'm not even sad. Okay, so we haven't really talked about this, but like, okay, not from an album perspective, but I'm in my lover era. You know, like, I am engaged to my London boy, and we are happy, and things are good. Like, I'm not saying Lover is my favorite album right now. I'm saying that, like, I am personally in my lover era. And so to listen to a song like My Tears Ricochet, which is about the end of a relationship, a divorce, something along those lines, it's just like, it's so hard to fathom this depth of emotion. And so when I can listen to a song and feel that, but also not feel like I can't listen to this because it's too much. Like, when she can connect with you on that, like, difficult emotion and make you feel like you want to hang on instead of escape, there's something special about that.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just, it's hard to reckon with those emotions unless you're in it. But I feel like everybody, again, almost everybody can relate, because whether or not you're happily with somebody at this moment in time, whether or not you're divorced and it ended badly, and divorce proceedings, I'm sure, are just brutal.
Hell.
Like,
unless they're uncontested, which is not a lot of the time, but, well,
yeah,
maybe not for the time.
The emotional resonance that she puts forth in that song, especially for somebody who, Taylor Swift, we all know just from her being in the public eye, has had partnerships and relationships that have not worked out well. She has had men that have never treated her right. But she draws on these emotional wells that even she herself has not had to experience. But she makes you relate to them anyway. And she shows you what they are and how they can make you feel. And for a minutes-long song to be able to communicate all of that, and to have your listener feel all of that, that's just, not every songwriter can do that. It's a rare and it's a special breed. But she does it. And then
over and over.
And then just to continue to sing these songs and feel it, even when she's on tour, and just having to relive it for the purpose of shows night after night. That's just immense strength as well.
Having to sing All Too Well 10, like, she's in her 90-somethingth show at the moment. Like, 89 was somewhere in Sweden, I think. Or maybe France. I don't know. Like, one of her, like, early European legs was her 89th show. 3.5 hour shows each. Like, what? And so, yeah, you're right. It's just such an immense feat for her to do any of this, either emotionally or physically. But returning to the song, we gather stones, never knowing what they'll mean. Some to throw, some to make a diamond ring. You know I didn't want to have to haunt you, but what a ghostly scene. Like, we gather stones. This goes back to Sweet Nothing. Like, we didn't actually mention this, but there's a lyric in that song where it's just like, there's a pebble in his pocket that they picked up last July from Wicklow, which is the county in Ireland. And so it's just like, we gather stones. And it's like, some of them to make a diamond ring. Like, are we throwing stones? Are we tearing down each other's character? Or are we getting married? Like, where on that dichotomy do we lie? For Taylor Swift, it's not as clear cut as maybe for the rest of us, which is sad. You know, that she has been with, in this case, like, this song came out 4 years into her relationship with Joe Alwyn, and it's just like, I still don't have a ring. Hello. Like, why? So it's like, are we tearing each other down, or are we going to get married? And so, you know, obviously the song could very much be applied to a divorce or a breakup of any kind, but I think there's some angst in here from Taylor as well, where it's just like, I didn't want to have to haunt you, but what a ghostly scene, where it's just like, this is, like, I need to get on you about this. I need to be more of a presence in your life so that you feel me, whether that scares you or not, whether that's like uncomfortable for you or not, but like, I'm still here, you know, like things have degraded, but I'm still here, and it's ghostly now, which is just terrifying.
Yeah. And then one of the final points for me in this song that just hits home is the lyric, tossing out blame, drunk on this pain. Because instead of acknowledging that, again, two people messed up and that's why the relationship ended, we're so ready to just be like, it's your fault. It's your fault. You did this. You did that. That's why this never worked out. That's why, again, like you said, divorce proceedings can be so contentious, because we don't want to accept that we're at fault for the dissolution of this marriage or this relationship. And we're so drunk on the pain that we're feeling that all we can do is try and just deflect it and divert it and cast it onto somebody else, because feeling it ourselves is just too immense and not something that we can handle without cracking and, again, sinking beneath the waves. It will kill us if we let ourselves feel that pain. So we just deflect it and try and throw it onto our partner, whether it's deserved or not, because it's all we can stand to do to try and make sure that we can stay floating at the end of the day and get through it.
Once again, the bridge of the song just hits so hard. And I can go anywhere I want, just not home. And you can aim for my heart, go for blood, but you would still miss me in your bones. You know, this is her telling Luke that she slept with Christopher. And him going to punch Christopher, and then them, I think I said earlier that it was the first episode of season 7. I think it's the second episode, where they meet in the grocery store. But it reminds me of like his passive aggressiveness to her, being like, I'm fine. Like, I went and punched Christopher. Like, do what you need to do. And so it's that same episode. And you can aim for my heart, go for blood. You can try to hurt me. You can try to go for the jugular, the thing that keeps me alive. But you would still miss me in your bones, like to your deepest, darkest depths. You will miss me. So like, that kind of vengeance is not going to get you what you want. And I can go anywhere I want, just not home. Like, I just think of her trying to clear his stuff out of her house the spatula. We had a spat, so I hit him with the spatula. Like, just like those little things. I can go anywhere I want, but not home. She lives in Stars Hollow. That is her home. Something about it feels different after her breakup from Luke.
Very well said. Anything else you want to go over with that song?
No, I'm good on that one. Okay. This might feel a little bit out of left field. Not sure. But the next song on my list, to me, it evoked feelings of Chris and Lorelai as their relationship was degrading into season 7. So, like, again, this playlist isn't perfect. Obviously, there are moments that are kind of skipped over. And then we sort of land at a place that feels awkward. But, you know, we're dealing with the discography of a woman who hasn't had the exact same life experiences as Lorelai. So there aren't songs about everything that she went through or every kind of relationship feeling she might have had. But the next one that sort of really sinks in for me is Coney Island, which, again, may feel a bit out of left field.
Yeah. I don't think I probably had as many thoughts as you about this episode. One thing that struck out for me is just the idea of like this song and what I feel like Lorelai and Luke did to each other is just the idea of pushing someone away unnecessarily. Because it just says, if I can't relate to you anymore, then who am I related to? So if I can't find common ground with you, then why should I even allow this to continue? And did I leave you hanging every single day unnecessarily because we couldn't find that commonality and we should have called this quits a long time ago? You know, how did we get here so soon? Did I shatter you? And I think it's just a lot of reckoning too, where if you can't find mutual ground with somebody, how long do you let it, like, it's good to try, but how long do you let it go on before you realize we're actually not good for one another?
That's interesting because I didn't really look at this song in the lens of Lorelai and Luke. I looked at we're into like hour 4 of recording. If I screw up, that's why. I looked at it through the lens of Lorelai and Christopher. So, break my soul in two. Chris seems to think that they are soulmates, and so breaking the soul in two is just like, we are two parts of a whole. But when it's broken, you know. Can soulmates exist when there's a break? I don't think that soulmates exist in general. So we'll get to that in a future episode. But Christopher's conception here is, you know, his whole, like, it's always been you. I'm going to wait as long as it takes, even if we're 80. That's the vibe. Looking for you, but you're right here. You know, it's been years and years and years and years of them being like, but what about you? No, but what about you? Like, they've always been right there for each other if they had just been able to develop some trust and some connection beyond what they had as teenagers, which neither of them ever made an effort to do, really. And it reminds me of It Should Have Been Lorelai, her self-reflection about, I was always waiting for you, when, you know, if she wanted him, all she had to do was say, I'm ready, you're the one that I want, you know? And he didn't get that, and he took that as a sign of like, I shouldn't do anything because, you know, he had his own issues that made him reluctant to put himself out there, I think. And that was unfortunate for them. But, you know, if I can't relate to you, who am I related to? They're so close. Look at Women of Questionable Morals when his father dies. And she's his oldest friend who goes to comfort him. And she's the mother of his daughter, his first daughter at least. And it's just like, if I can't relate to you, who else is there for me? You know, like all of my friends are Sherry's friends or their husbands or whatever. Like, there's no one left for me. You're the only person who understands me to my core. And if this is the long haul, how did we get here so soon? I think this is the heart of the question. Like, it's been 7 seasons. It maybe should have happened sooner than this. Part of me would have like loved for this to be the wrap up in season 3 or something, where it's just like, instead of Sherry getting pregnant, maybe we had Lorelai and Chris and they got married and it was just like, oh, well, that was bad. And then she finally got with Luke after that. But that's not what we got. How did we get here so soon? We've been building to this forever. We had a false ending in season 2. But then we have this short marriage, and it's something that everybody saw coming. You know, that there's no surprise here. And I'm still sitting on a bench in Coney Island wondering, where did my baby go? The Fast Times, the Bright Lights, the merry-go. You know, Fast Times makes me think of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, which is the movie that Lorelai watches in Jason's spare room when she spends the night the first time, which is, you know, about teenagers who are sexually active. It's a coming of age drama. Like, it's about youth and sex, passion, freedom, spontaneity. These are all things that happen when you're a teenager. The Bright Lights, the merry-go, you know, Coney Island is this kind of almost mythologized place where it's no longer in its heyday. It really is not what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe a lot of people are wondering, where did Coney Island go? Not just where did my baby go, but where did Coney Island go? There's this connection between the place and the memory. And it's just like, my baby used to be this way and Coney Island used to be this way, you know, and they're conflating the two things, where it's just like, why have things changed? What was the catalyst here? And, you know, it used to be Bright Lights and carnival rides, but now this amusement park has broken down. It's, you know, it's a shell of what it once was. It is dilapidated, and it was just, it wasn't any one thing. It was just years of neglect. And I think that's true of Chris and Lorelai too, where it's just like, years of dilly-dallying has led us here, where, you know, we wasted the best years, if you will, where it's just like, okay, we had all this opportunity at this one point to build this relationship before we had any baggage other than maybe Rory, which, you know, I wouldn't want to call her baggage, you know what I mean? Like, before we had any responsibilities or history or any of that outside of this teenage pregnancy. They had these opportunities to be together, and they didn't. And so now it almost feels like, again, for me, this song calls to episode 14 of season 7, when Lorelai and Chris are splitting up. And it's like, how did we get here? Like, how did this degrade so fast? But it truly was a slow degradation over time. Obviously, their actual marriage was very quick, but the rest of it was just like, no, this was in the cards forever, because this is how our relationship has always gone. And so, you know, it looks shiny and bright, but it's a roller coaster. It's only fun to go fast and upside down for so long, you know, otherwise it just makes you sick. And everything about this place is fake. It's all a facade. It's all, you know, artifice, if you will. Like, it's fake lights. It's fake thrills. It's cheap games that make you think you can win, but you can't actually win, you know. Live fast, die young.
Bad girls do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are all excellent points. I didn't even make the connection between where did Coney Island go and where did this relationship go, so kudos to you. That is an excellent parallel to draw there as well. I can see a lot of like the Chris and Lorelai stuff as well. I think what drew me to, like, even though that this episode is obviously centered on Chris and Lorelai and their relationship as well, I think what drew me again to just drawing parallels with Luke and Lorelai was just also this other line in the song that says, "The sight that flashed before me was your face. Which, again, going back to
your face.
When you're thinking about who that person is, whose face do you see? And for Luke, it was always Lorelai. For Lorelai, I feel like the answer varied over, time, depending on where she was at in life, who she was with. But there's a connection to be made there as well. Although I think that your points were very well illustrated.
Oh, and I have more points too. So, and do you miss the rogue who coaxed you into paradise and left you there? Again, to me, total Chris and Lorelai imagery. Coaxing, like, I convince you to come into this idyllic place with me, but I'm going to leave you in it. Pack us up and leave you with it. This is Chris being like, marry me, but the minute things go sour, I'm out. And again, like, I blame him, but I don't blame him. I don't think he was wrong about the whole Luke situation. So, like, that's a whole other story. But, like, the rogue, you and I are both Dungeons and Dragons players, and we have a very particular conception of a rogue and roguish behavior. It's someone who is dexterous and has proficiency with thieves' tools, and it could be a swashbuckler or an arcane trickster. There's an element of deception to a rogue. There's a slyness to them that creeps into the song, where it's like, do you miss the rogue who coaxed you into a paradise and left you there? Like, do you miss the person who misled you, making you think that this was going to be everything and then it was nothing? There's mischief here. I call mischief.
Fair enough. I'm not going to argue that point. Yep.
Oh yeah, there's more. Will you forgive my soul when you're too wise to trust me and too old to care? Because we were like the mall before the internet. It was the place to be. The mischief, the gift-wrapped suburban dreams. Sorry for not winning you an arcade ring. So, especially the last bit of that, where it's just like, again, the mischief, the roguishness of it all. Winning an arcade ring is such a thing where it's just like, okay, the ring is such a symbol of commitment, right? Like, hello, this is my engagement ring. Like, this to me symbolizes like, hey, I'm a married Dan. And there's so much meaning in this. And so winning you an arcade ring is like, okay, we're too young to understand what this means. We don't know how to acquire it. We're going to try to win it from this machine. And we're going to be like, you know what's cool is proposing to your girlfriend with a ring that's made of plastic out of an arcade machine. There's something juvenile about it. It's suggestive of something grown up. It's a milestone. It's maturity, but it's something cheap. And it's like a facsimile version of the real thing, where it's just like, well, I should have a real ring, one that I can wear in the shower if I wanted to, like, it can't just be plastic. And so, like, and the fact that it can be won, like, there's something about that, again, that feels like it's not quite right. There's something off about it, where it's like, there's this juvenile sense of competition. It reminds me of How I Met Your Mother. Okay, spoilers for How I Met Your Mother for the next, 2 minutes or so. But at the beginning of season 3, Ted proposes to someone and does so with a kangaroo from an arcade machine. And he's like, I tried to get you the plastic ring. And she's like, the plastic ring? He's like, will you marry me? And then the season cuts. So it reminds me of that, where it's just like, Ted is not ready to get married. He thinks he is. Like, that's all he wants desperately, is this sort of like, I need to hit this milestone. But this person is not right for him. There is still something off about this relationship. And so it's not right. It's too immature. And they're, arcade games, it's like another game analogy, it goes back to, this is a ruthless game unless you play it good and right, unless you're a mastermind.
Yeah. I mean, all excellent parallels. So I'm just pleasantly sitting here listening.
I mean, and there's more to this song as well. You said you had given all your notes, right?
For this one, yes.
Okay. There's also like a lot of time imagery in this. Were you waiting at our old spot in the tree by the gold clock? And so it's like we're sitting in nature, but there's an ornate clock here. And so once again, juxtaposition, drink. It's like it's the new patriarchy. It's just juxtaposition. Nature has its own time, its own cycles, right? But clocks are like time is ticking, and Christopher and Lorelai talk so much about time, where it's just like the timing is not right. It's this thing. It's like even in one of the episodes around this, I think it might be 7:14 or 7:13. I think it's 7:14, but it's like Christopher asks Lorelai, "Is our relationship just marking time for you?" Time is the only thing you can't get back. It's one of those unrenewable resources. And so it means something when you spend time with someone. Time is ticking. And so Christopher feels like the time that he's spending with Lorelai is clouded by something. And like there's something else in the back of her mind where it's just like, no, this is just marking time until this other thing happens. And like that's not a good way to feel ever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, your relationship with somebody needs to be built on the fact that sometimes it's going to take the time that you alluded to get to marriage, engagement, like just any sort of next steps that you need to take. Allow it to have that time. Not forever, but just like progress in your relationship at like in a way that feels organic and good to you in terms of how much time things are taking.
Yeah. And one last thing on the song, there's a line that says, "Did I leave you hanging every single day? Were you standing in the hallway?" Which just makes me think of exile, and it took you 5 whole minutes to leave me there standing standing there with my love out here in the hall. Yep. Something along those lines. So it's just like that idea of being left. And it's like, I'm left here standing with the bag. I'm holding all the emotional baggage from this. And, and that's the thing. It feels like Christopher is holding all the emotional baggage for this. He's the one who's been more devoted this whole time. He's the one who wanted to get married. She's the one who is not in this all the way. He's the one who hurts more when they break up. She just kind of moves on and is just like, I'm going to rekindle my friendship with Luke. And within a couple of weeks or months or whatever the course of time is, she's back with him. It's just like, I actually kind of feel bad for Christopher in the sense. I know that is probably not going to make me popular in the fandom, but like, youch.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent summation of Coney Island, unless you have anything else.
I have one last point, and it's just like a fun fact. Coney Island is apparently Brooklyn District 13.
Yes.
And 13 is an auspicious number for Taylor Swift. She was born December 13th, 1989. So also for reference, I was born January 16th, 1990. So Taylor and I are like just over a month apart. And so part of what I love about Taylor's music is that like we've kind of grown up together. And I feel like you're only a little bit younger than me, like 3 months or so. You were April 10th. And so it's like, she is our age. She has been going through those same emotional stages of life as we have. And so there have definitely been moments where we're like, yes, this speaks to exactly what I'm going through right now.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Oh, that was long. That was probably the longest one I had for these last couple songs. Next up, I love this song, Lavender Haze.
Yep. This song in general just speaks to me about uncertainty still within relationships, and how even after you've been with somebody for so long and for such a pronounced period of time, you can still not know, and still have questions being raised and being asked, and still have I don't knows coming to the forefront, but wanting to still remain so blissful within the relationship, and being in that like lavender haze of just saying like, I should be asking these questions. They're important. They need to be asked. How is my relationship actually going? But just wanting to remain where you are with that, and ignoring the constructs and the actual reality of your relationship and the challenges that it can present, and just sweeping it under the rug for the ease. But when you ignore that, it doesn't do your relationship any good. You need to be able to ask those hard questions. And so I feel like for what we see with Luke and Lorelai and the revival, which is how I would tie in this song a little bit, it's like, for as long as you two have still been together, there are questions that still need to be asked. I mean, you're still considering whether or not you guys want to be parents, whether IVF is an option, how you're going to have a kid. And you're still on different planes with that. So there needs to be greater communication there. And again, don't fall into the haze. Ask the questions that you need to within your relationship.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. Like, it's such a great summation. I want to point out a few like key lines, but I think that's such a good way to put the overall thesis of the song. But like, staring at the ceiling with you, and you don't ever say too much, and you don't really read into my melancholia. To me, that stood out as like, yeah, Lorelai and Luke don't communicate. Luke's not much of a talker, and Lorelai is in a state of melancholia. She's depressed. I put this on. This is sort of like the revival, if you will. Lorelai is reeling from the death of her father, and she's in this like the stage of like malaise. And Luke's not really picking up on it or asking her what she needs when it comes to it. And that's a problem. And so she's like, you don't really read into this. Like, you're not picking up the vibes. That's not good. I've been under scrutiny. You handle it beautifully. All this shit is new to me. This to me is sort of like, again, Emily is being critical of Lorelai in the stage where it's just like, you need to be grieving in a particular way for your father. And Luke is just sort of there helping her out, but nobody knows what to do in this situation. And so yeah, they're in the lavender haze. It's just this sort of like idealistic place. It's surreal. She's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't. No deal, the 1950 shit they want from me. That sounds like Lorelai. She doesn't want that sort of ideal life, that nuclear family. All they keep asking me is if I'm going to be your bride. The only kind of girl they see is a one-night or a wife. This goes back to the questions in therapy about like, why aren't you married? You're basically bosom buddies. Like, you're roommates with benefits. It's judgmental, but it's something that Lorelai faces, regardless of how we as the audience feel about that. So I thought that was such a poignant connection to her.
Yeah, I agree. Any other thoughts on Lavender Haze?
Not super specifically. I do love the whole like, no deal, the 1950 shit they want from me. Lorelai's not about that life.
Fair enough. Next up, as we wind this down.
Yeah, so I've got two more, and these are almost more like Lorelai's general character as opposed to moments from the show. And so the first one, I've alluded to this in the past, I think anti-hero is very much about Lorelai Gilmore. And so, like, an anti-hero or anti-heroine is a main character who isn't really heroic in the traditional sense. They lack a certain sense of idealism, and some of them are even immoral or amoral. They'll do good things, but for reasons that maybe don't align with why we think they should be doing the right things. It'll be, a self-interested thing or a narcissistic thing, but the outcome will be right. And so we're just like, can we really call them a villain? Because they're not doing something that's like detrimental to society. But so, they lack your typical heroic qualities. They're mostly self-interested. It's more about like, how do I feel, or what does this reflect on me, rather than like objective senses of morality. And they may not operate by a standard code. So we might have to have an episode on, is Lorelai an anti-hero or is Rory an anti-hero? But in terms of this song, there are so many parallels. And so this is sort of Taylor being like, maybe I'm a covert narcissist who needs attention and affection and this particular kind of validation that comes from external sources, because I've done enough self-reflection and I've gotten enough feedback about who I am as a person that this is who I think I am. And so she says, I have this thing where I get older but just never wiser. And so, what is wisdom? And how is she aware that she lacks it, right? How you gain wisdom is a thing. In what areas are you wise? And, she's wise as a businesswoman. She's wise in the ways of like how to connect with people, how to tell a story. But there are areas of wisdom that she lacks, right? So it alludes to this sense of arrested development that I talked about up top that she's aware of. And yet she realizes that she's still engaging in self-defeating behavior.
Yeah. I'm just going to throw this quote out there from the song. It's me. Hi. I'm the problem. It's me. And I feel like Lorelai needed to reckon with that and realize, like, yeah, you mucked up in a lot of your relationships. And I envision this scenario where Lorelai is just seeing her exes as ghosts, literal or figurative ghosts, just standing in a room. And she's like, hey, sorry I ghosted all of you and led you to this fate when I could have done better. But again, I'm the problem. It was me. And I'm sorry I couldn't be better for you at the time. I was the anti-hero. And this relationship was sabotaged and ended because I didn't do enough. And again, not putting it all on Lorelai, but it needed to be noticed and reckoned with that it wasn't always the men who faltered. She had a part to play there too.
Yeah. And backing that up a little, it's like when my depression works the graveyard shift, that's a personification of your feelings, right? Of your mental state. My depression is working. And, the graveyard shift is midnight to 8. So we're on Midnights, the album. Emotions are coming to the surface after dark and while you're at work. It's sort of like a work song, almost. Hosier reference incoming. Your depression's working overtime. It's not your typical hours that you would keep. And frankly, for anyone who struggled with mental health, they know that like the nighttime is the hardest. So all of that, like things come to the surface at that time of day because everything else is quiet. And suddenly it's just like, well, now it's just me and my thoughts. And that's when I turn on sitcoms or Gilmore Girls. But yeah, all the people I've ghosted stand there in the room. It's the things that haunt you, Ghosted is the slang for leaving people hanging. But there's also this sort of like not ancient, but like old gothic feeling to it, like this feeling of being haunted by something that hasn't moved on. There's unfinished business here.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the literal meaning of it is. So, anything else on Antihero?
Oh yeah, there's more. Tale as old as time. I love that. I frequently quote Beauty and the Beast as my favorite movie of all time. So, just the fact that it's leaning into that, referencing that sort of fairy tale like quality. I wake up screaming from dreaming. One day I'll watch as you're leaving. There's this weird like catastrophic energy to this. Like there's something about this that's repetitive. There's a pattern here. She recognizes it. And yet there's an anxiety around being abandoned. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy where she pushes people away and then is like terrified when they actually leave. So there's that. I'll stare directly at the sun, but never in the mirror. The self-sabotage, the inability to self-reflect. Like, you would rather blind yourself and damage your own eyesight than, like, truly take a look at yourself to get clarity on your own being. That's an interesting one. Did you hear my covert narcissism I disguise as altruism? Like some kind of congressman. So I don't think Lorelai is a covert narcissist, but just for reference, a covert narcissist is someone who craves admiration and importance, lacks empathy, may exhibit signs of narcissistic personality disorder, but it's subtler. It's more about like how they feel about themselves. They're sort of like a self-aggrandizement, exaggeration of their own abilities. They want admiration. So, but there's empathy lacking behind all of that. Like they don't have feeling for other people as well as themselves. So there's that. I do love I have this dream my daughter-in-law kills me for the money. She thinks I left them in the will. The family gathers around and reads it, and then someone screams out, she's laughing up at us from hell. That's, like, thinking way ahead to the end of your legacy. Like, what are people going to think of me when I'm gone? And how are people going to react to the massive fortune that I have to leave? Like, is it just going to be about the money, or is it going to be people caring about me? And it's clear that she is worried about the money, which, that's a Taylor thing, not so much a Lorelai thing. But I feel like there was something else where I was like, oh God, this song. Tea time. Right. So tea time could have a number of meanings. At tea time, everybody agrees. So tea, in our common vernacular, is gossip, right? Like spill the tea. So at tea time, everybody agrees could be a reference to people gossiping about what's happening and like everyone being on the same page about it. But the other funny thing about this is that like tea time in the UK, like obviously they're big on their teas. They have rules about this, and tea time is a very particular thing. So the funny thing is that nobody can agree on what tea time is. Some people think it's like an afternoon tea. Other people think it's supper. Like it could be anywhere really from like 12 to 6 p.m. something along those lines. So everybody agrees is a very ironic line because nobody in England agrees about what tea time is. And so that makes me think it's the whole like, oh, everybody agrees that Taylor Swift is the problem. Which is funny. But the fact that she spent long enough in England to understand why that line would be funny on multiple levels just tickles me. I just love that. Yeah. Everybody agrees.
Yep. Anything else on that song before we get to our final
Oh, probably, but we're about to literally run out of recording time, so we should move on
Yeah.
to
We do need
the
to wind this down ASAP.
yeah. I feel like I don't have as much to say about this one. It's more just like, oh, something about this like resonated, and I had to put it on this list. Once again, it doesn't really connect to any one thing, but it connects to sort of like Lorelai's personality on the whole, and it's the Archer.
Go off, because I actually did not have this one on my list.
Ooh, okay.
Lorelai.
Combat. I'm ready for combat. I say I don't want that, but what if I do? Because cruelty wins in the movies. So obviously, like, Lorelai is always on the defense of like, I am ready to fight you if I need to. I don't want to, but maybe there's something that I like in this game, you know? And cruelty wins in the movies. She's the kind of person who watches a lot of movies, takes a lot in from them. It's formed a lot of her personality. And so when she was alone with an infant, she used it as her escape. Cruelty wins in the movies. And so maybe she's picking up ways to deal with the world from the movies she watches, which is why she's so dramatic and why she picks up the quirks of old world movie stars. So there's that. Easy they come, easy they go. I jump from the train, I ride off alone. And so it's like, once again, this idea that men come and go and I can escape if I have to. I can literally run away when I must. I've been the Archer, so like I'm the one who's doing the hunting. I'm the one who is dangerous. I will shoot you. But I've also been the prey. Like people have sought me out for what I can give to them. Who could ever leave me, darling, but who could stay? So like, again, with being the prey, who could ever leave me? She is, at this point, a billionaire. Who could ever leave her? But who could stay? She's asking that question of herself, especially at this time. So this is they call it the track 5. So track 5 on her albums are typically the most vulnerable or the most emotional. And so in this case, this is the track 5 on Lover, when she was supposedly very happy with Joe Alwyn. And so this is the self-reflection of like, I have this guy and I've been with him for like 3 years, but like, how could he ever stay with me given how hard my life is and given like what my previous relationship history has been? So I've been the Archer, I've done the hunting and I've been the prey. Like people are after me. So there's all of that baggage for her. I search for your dark side, but what if I'm all right here? Like, I need to know what your dark side is, but I'm all right. But I'm right here. Like there's some, it's like, I know I have a dark side, but I need to know yours too. They see right through me. Can you see right through me? I see right through me. So there's this element of perceptibility. Like people can see me. They see me for who I am, for what I've done, for what I do. And I recognize it and you recognize it. And it's just like, I know that I'm on display and there's an anxiety there. There's a fear that you seeing me for who I am will lead you to abandon me. Because I'm difficult, you know? There's a lot of similarities to Antihero here. There's a recognition of patterns. She knows where she goes wrong. But this song has a more hopeful tone, like, who could stay? You could stay. So there is something in this verse just like, maybe there is someone here who can handle all of this, who can handle a person who has these defensive yet aggressive tendencies. I said those two things and I was like, wait, no, those are juxtaposing each other. Once again, juxtaposition. I feel like it's every song we've done. You know, just knowing that there's someone out there who can handle her at her best and at her worst. and that being defensive, like there's almost a sense of the song where it's just like, I know I'm defensive and I know that hurts you and I know it hurts me as well. And so it's almost like by the end of it, she's letting down the armor, like the armor falls. It's like she's taking down the shield, she's taking off the breastplate and the, like, you know, the epaulets and the, I don't know what the ones that cover your thighs are called, but, like, you know, the stuff on your legs. Henry has been dismantled when it comes to Lorelai. And it kind of feels almost like a fitting ending to this discussion where it's just like, I think maybe by the end of the series, she knows how to let go a little bit and be more of herself and be like, who could stay? Luke could stay.
I think that's a great end point and summarization. Because, spoiler, as we all know, at the end of the day, it's Luke Janes, Butch Janes, ladies and gentlemen. He ends up being Lorelai's man. So throughout all of the context that we've had and the speculation and what we've put into these songs and how Lorelai has progressed through her men and how these songs can relate to them, it's Luke.
He can see her face, and it's always been him.
Yep.
Anyway, I think that wraps us up. Finally. I love how we thought this was going to be one episode, and here we are at 5 hours of straight recording. We should have done this earlier. Whatever. Anyway, please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you feel the vibe. Drop us a comment with your thoughts and feelings about what we talked about. There's still a conversation to be had.
Yep. Other than that, we'll keep saying it as it gets closer every week. FanFest is coming. If you have not bought a ticket to this event, please consider doing so. It is October 18th through 20th in Guilford, Connecticut this fall. It is the best Gilmore Girls weekend that you could ever envision having. We will be there. Cast and crew from the show will be there. There's a link to that event in the description below where you can seek out more info and buy tickets. But please consider doing that as well because you will not be disappointed.
Absolutely. We love that event. And hopefully we will have an episode with Jenny going over what to expect this year. So stay tuned for that. But in the name of not keeping you here too much longer and not totally running over our allotted recording time in StreamYard, ciao. And we'll see you next Friday for dinner.
Have a good weekend, y'all. Thanks for staying with us.
Bye.